Welcome to France, where baguettes are plentiful but ice is scarce. After over 4 years of living here, how have our lives changed? Are we different? Do we feel more French? Today we review France. Stay tuned to find out how it held up under our scrutiny. If you're new to our channel, we're a family of 4 living permanently in France. We have dual citizenship, Italy and the US, which enables us to live anywhere in the EU. We chose France. Our lives completely changed when we moved here. Between us, our entire lives, we've always lived in busy metropolitan sort of areas. Right. Moving here to a very isolated piece of property was definitely different for us, yes, but yet something we were craving.
Looking forward to.
Yeah, I think the years of having horrible neighbors and just people on top of you, and you know what your neighbor's doing, or you can smell what they're cooking. I guess we were kind of over that. Coming here was a big change, and I'm not gonna lie, at first it was a little creepy to be on this big parcel of land by ourselves.
Oh, the silence.
The silence. It was just...
Or lack of human noises, I
guess.
guess.
Yes, at night, you hear the foxes and the owls, and it took a bit of getting used to.
Oh, I'm sure it's pretty normal for lots of people, but that wasn't our lives before that.
It's nice because we have the ability to just leave and go on a train, and in 2.5 hours we're in Paris, which is one of our favorite cities.
Yeah.
So now we're in this completely foreign country. We don't speak the language. We're in the middle of this property. Yeah. How did our children adjust to life in France? I will say it was not very easy.
Right, but it was also because COVID happened 6 months after we got here. So they were in French school, learning in French and picking it up pretty well. But then all of a sudden it turned into, schools closed and you're learning from home. When they reopened school, everyone had to wear a mask. If you're trying to learn a language, watching people's mouths is kind of important in learning a language. So it
was quite difficult.
People have always said that, oh, you're going to learn a language really fast when you move someplace. But that's in the old days when you didn't have the internet and you couldn't access things in English all the time. You can get by very well without having to learn the other languages.
Okay, so our kids were 13 and 11 when we moved here.
And our original plan had been a year earlier, so they would have been 12 and 10.
Which I think would have made all the difference in the world. So,
well, especially since we would have had an extra year before COVID
happened. So we spent the first year or two just navigating school in France, and that was our biggest focus. And, we didn't really get anything renovated in the Chateau because we didn't have to. We weren't opening a business. We were just living our lives the first 2 years. The good thing is that they're practically fluent now. So they speak excellent French. Their accents are on point. We're pretty sure both of our kids will attend university in Europe. We still haven't gotten that far. For now, it seems like it's the right choice for them. It's less expensive, certainly. As members of the European Union, you have access to practically free university. So that's a big plus, and it's a big saving. We had no idea that we would use that dual citizenship for us to move here. We initially just thought it would be a great opportunity for our kids sometime in the future if they wanted to attend university in Europe. We ended up changing our plans and moving here. Well, in France, people don't purchase as much as Americans do. What's the word? Consumerism? Well, we don't buy as much as we used to.
I think it's partly not being constantly reminded of what you may not have, and not being given a line of credit to just go out and buy it because you want it.
That's extremely rare in France. The majority of French people do not have a credit card. You just have your carte bancaire, which is your bank card.
It's a Visa or MasterCard that just takes the money out of your bank account.
Yeah, back in the US, I think between the two of us, we had maybe 10 credit cards.
Probably. We had a bunch. You know, a lot of them just get sent to you, you know, and then
they give you a line of credit,
they
and
keep
then you
increasing
end up using
your line of credit. France is completely different from the U.S. because there's no such thing as a credit rating or a credit score. There isn't this thing that follows you around.
Yeah, that that kind of blew our minds.
And
it's
something
like,
that you have to nurture or be aware of and be worried about if something came up that's going to lower your credit score where it shouldn't.
Yeah, that completely threw me for a loop. Like, there's no credit score? You know, as Americans, it's ingrained in us. Like, you have to have this perfect credit score. But here it's basically, you know, it's based on what your income is and what you can afford. If you want to get a little loan for home equity or a car loan or a mortgage, that sort of thing.
And it's mostly about if you've got a salary job in France where you can't get fired. That's what they like, because banks don't charge a lot of interest. And I think there are limits on what they're allowed to charge. We were told, when we first started looking that, you won't be able to get a mortgage, partly because it's more difficult to get a mortgage if you're not a French citizen. But on top of that, it's difficult to get a mortgage on a chateau.
It's virtually impossible to get a mortgage on a property like this. So many people have, over the years, bought these buildings and have taken a mortgage out and were unable to pay it because there was so much work to do and they were completely out of money and were unable to pay the loan. So you're probably wondering how we bought this place. Our flat in San Francisco basically doubled in value, so we sold it and used the extra money to purchase this property. Our eating habits have completely changed. Here in France, you eat seasonally, so that means you won't find asparagus in December. And everything is pretty much produced locally. Prices are less expensive because there's not as much involved in storing or transporting your food. We're fortunate to have a walled garden, which is about 3/4 of an acre, and we grow our own fruits and vegetables here. So we have a nice selection. I do need to purchase a greenhouse so I can extend my growing season. And for me, having a garden is a little more rewarding than heading out to the markets to get our fruit and veg. But you can still find imported fruits and vegetables in a lot of the larger supermarkets in France. So if you do have a hankering for strawberries in January, you can certainly find them. They might not taste like much. If you need it, you can get it. My mom recently sent this box. There were requests for bagels made in New York City, these horrible snacks from Trader Joe's. Yes, that is mayonnaise. Yes, I make my own, but certain people can't live without this. These are a couple of favorite perfumes we can't find here. And my mother has pawned this jigsaw puzzle off onto us. You certainly get used to the different smells.
Yeah.
Farmland versus city life. Which do you prefer, the smell of urine versus cow poop. I don't know, but I'd take cow poop over urine.
But the cow poop, it's only like twice a year for a few days when they spread a bunch of it out when they're going to plant.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
You get used to it too. It's like, oh, they're doing
it's that time of
crops
year
today, so.
There isn't any instant gratification here. At 8 p.m. you decide, oh, I want to go get this. So I'm going to run out to the store that closes at 10. No. You're going to have to wait till tomorrow because they're already closed.
It's not true for all of France, but for us, we can't get delivery, like food deliveries.
Right. There's no such thing as
not here.
Uber Eats or whatever.
You can get all that stuff in Paris and I'm sure bigger towns and cities around us, but where we are, we can't access that. And that doesn't bother us. Just something you get used to.
Right. You have to become more patient.
Definitely.
Things don't have to be right now, right here.
I've always been an extremely impatient person, and this has really brought me down. I'm not saying I'm down to your level, but I'm like, oh, it's not going to happen today, no big deal, whatever. You adjust your expectations and you live a slower paced life. To some people it would feel like torture. For me, it was a very difficult transition. But now that I know, for instance, in our particular area on Sunday, there's not a lot open. I mean, now it's interesting. Stores are starting to adapt the Sunday hours. So I think it's sort of creeping into
more stores are doing
France.
It.
Yeah. So like, for instance, on Sundays, the garden center's open. That was never a thing before. So things are opening up, but not for very long hours. I get very stressed out easily. I think I stress myself out. Yeah.
You still have a ways to go.
For what?
Getting into the French.
I do. I really need to adapt that, like, laissez-faire, like.
Right. It's like laissez-faire.
We are still stumbling and feel like absolute idiots. So our French is very basic, and the one thing that people often ask us, do you need to be fluent in French to move to France? And I would say, no, you don't. But you need to have a basic understanding. You need to put yourself out there and speak French from the get-go, even if it's horrible, awful, crappy French. That is one thing I do miss, is obviously speaking English, but we live in a foreign country and we have to adapt. So Google Translate has been our friend. We do pick up words here and there. We do use some of the apps. We can read French.
The most important word is bonjour.
Right, say hello. So most of the younger generation know a little bit of English. So we can have some conversations with people who, you speak Franglish or whatever. So it's kind of a mix between French and English. We've managed to get by, but I wish we were a little further along in our studies, and it's just very difficult to take the time out to study. And our brains are old, so we're, we have strike against us. Now, we're not going to lie. Living in France isn't all champagne and truffles. We have a few observations. There's a shortage of doctors in France, especially in the less populated areas. Waiting times to get an appointment with a dentist or a dermatologist can sometimes be up to 6 months if you're a new patient. Once you're in, though, it becomes easier. We have to drive about an hour to the city of Rennes for our daughter to see her orthodontist. Not so bad, I suppose. Certain medications aren't available here. This is not specific to France, but the EU as a whole. The European Medicines Agency regulates drugs throughout Europe. Then France can impose their own set of regulations on top of that. This can be frustrating if you need a particular medication that's available in the US, but Europe doesn't have. Well, you always hear about the French bureaucracy. We're still waiting for our French driver's licenses, and that's been...
It's been 4 years.
4 years.
And we've checked a few times, and it's just, oh yeah, it's still in process. Okay.
It's like, okay, well, we're still driving on our American driver's licenses, but we came from a state that just, you transfer your,
you can just
your license.
Exchange it rather
you
than...
don't have to take a test.
Right.
So we were fortunate in that regard. but we're still waiting for them.
Yeah.
And we've shown our U.S. driver's licenses as forms of ID.
Oh yeah, no one bats an eyelash.
Yeah, it's like, okay. We just do as the French do, and how are we doing?
I think we're doing great.
Yeah, we love it here. We absolutely would not change a thing. We get the question a lot, would we ever return to the U.S.? And at this point, no, I don't think we would. We're quite happy here. We have a nice life. There's not a lot we miss. So ultimately, how do we rate France? You're always here, huh? Yeah, go play. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe. And if you have something to say, leave us a comment.